Hey everyone, number 36 on my list of 100 greatest songs of all time is I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free by Nina Simone. So, I break down the songs and I tell you who wrote them and stuff like that. Whenever I hear or, in passing or sit down intentionally to listen to Nina Simone, it doesn't really matter who wrote the song when it comes to Nina Simone because she doesn't cover them, she owns them, she takes them and makes them her own, and they are no longer belong to the author. But we'll do it anyway. So it was written as a jazz piece by Billy Taylor, originally recorded as an instrumental with lyrics later added by Dick Dallas. The Nina Simone's interpretation of the song served as a civil rights an anthem for the civil rights movement, and there's something obviously very literal in the lyrics, and I know everybody wants to hear me talk about what it was like for someone like Nina Simone in the South in the 60s, but I'm not going to go into that. By the way, that's out there to learn. I want to read the lyrics, and because obviously that's an important part of the song, but I'm going to really talk more about Nina Simone's versions of them, because she does many different arrangements, and she is like an architect of songs, I should say, where she does change them as her years go on, and whether she's performing on her own or she's performing with a backup band, it changes all the time. And I love watching her perform with a band, obviously, because it's a fuller sound. But how the band just look at her, there's the kind of element of, the band leader, Sly Stone or James Brown, or, those kind of people who had the full attention and respect of their band, that they were just looking at them for the cues. And I'm not going to, by the way, I'm not going to read all the lyrics. I just want to read a couple of parts because there's something very important in those lyrics to what Nina Simone is saying and what the song would later become. Nina Simone released this song, by the way, in 1967 on her album Silk and Soul. The first line: I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things I should say, same loud, same clear, for the whole drowned world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart, remove all the bars that kept us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree that every man should be free. They're just the first verses, but it's pretty, obvious what is being said in the song. I just looking up something else. Sorry, I first came across this quote when I was watching the documentary. What Happened, Miss Simone, and I read the book as well. Actually, the book by the same name, and she's asked in an interview, "What does freedom mean to you?" And she kind of laughs, and the laugh is fairly telling, with the backdrop of what was going on at the time. But she says, "Freedom means no fear. I mean, really, no fear." And throughout her life, there was obviously worries and fears with where she lived and what she was doing growing up. And she was a very accomplished piano player who wanted to get into a very notorious school at Curtis, I think was the name of the school. And she didn't get in, and she believes because it was the colour of her skin, and she would have been the only black student in there if she had gotten in. So she might have been right about that. But the idea of that interview and what she says there is like she's obviously lived in a state of fear, whether it's she had a rough time with her mental health, she had a rough time with because of that leading into alcohol abuse and undiagnosed mental health problems that she didn't know she had until later in life, and she had a very abusive husband and all of this stuff. But while all of that is going on in the background, she's singing about the universal, and I talked about that recently enough on the episode for Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. And so in the documentary, you should really go watch it, it's amazing. And she says freedom means no fear, and it goes into a clip of her performing in New York in 1968, and she's playing on the piano and she's playing that song. She's playing this song, sorry, and she gets up and she does this real kind of jerky kind of movement, a strange movement, and it just looks like someone who's completely lost in the moment. And at that moment, you feel, and this is just me drawing, maybe what I wanted her to feel, or what I hoped she was feeling, was at that moment she was feeling no fear. And you can get that clip online, by the way, of her performing in New York 1968, and her performing this song, and she that moment, she just, as a bead of sweat comes off her, and she's just moving. And she talked about going to church and seeing those moments in church when people were taken over by the spirit, or whatever you want to call it yourself, and this stuck with her, and she found this in her music, and she was a badass. Like, she went up against the authorities and went up against all the people that she, I suppose, was not supposed to go up against. And she's, one of my favorites in music, an incredible singer, and, like I said, a performer of songs. And she added this little bit into this song in there's a number of performances where she adds it in, but this, I have one on saved on my my phone or whatever, and it's from the Montreux Festival, I think it is, and she's playing, and the backing vocalist just really low in the background are just going, cause I know, like a mantra in the background. And she's singing away, and it's almost like the subconscious is telling her, this, like, and the backing band is providing that subconscious. And it's just it turns it into something even more, like, I'm not a spiritual or religious person, but there's something in that. It reminds me of the time I saw that documentary where Aretha Franklin played in the church, and they captured all his performances of playing in the church, and there's just something really involving about it, that you get so drawn in to what they're doing. Like, and that's music, I know that's music, but it's also the person. Not everybody can do that to you. Not everybody can make that happen. And Nina Simone has covered so many songs. She's written her own stuff as well, obviously, but this one, like, ties in hugely, obviously, with the lyrics and what's being said, but with that moment where it seems like she has that no fear that she's talking about, that freedom, and then this funny kind of twist of fate. I went to see Radiohead in 2017, and just before they came on, they played that clip of freedom and meaning no fear, and I thought, that's pretty cool. But so it's a mouthful, but I wish you knew how it would feel to be free, by Nina Simone. Check it out. All right, thanks. Bye.